Today we're going to talk about the need for sensory detail and figurative language in a narrative. So sensory detail refers to those details that you put in your story that activate your reader's five senses. So anything that helps your reader imagine seeing something, hearing something, tasting something, smelling something, or touching something in your story. And to this day, that poem that we read about bullying, the author, Mr. Koishin, uses a lot of sensory detail. And I pulled out a couple of my favorites here. He said that kids used to say she looks like a wrong answer that someone tried to erase but couldn't quite get the job done. Everybody has tried erasing something with a pencil before, and they probably had one of those crummy erasers that just smudged everything instead of actually erasing. So because he knows most people have that experience, this piece of sensory information right here, that she looks like a wrong answer that someone tried to erase, that pops into your head really easily. And it's a much more interesting way to say that she had a dark mark on her face. This other one we have right here, this one is one that helps you imagine using your hearing. So we are graduating members from the class of We Made It, not the faded echoes of voices crying out, names will never hurt me. You guys have probably played with echoes before, and you know that they start out loud and then they get quieter as the seconds pass, right? So you have this image, or not really an image, but you can imagine what it would sound like for somebody to say, names will never hurt me, names will never hurt me, names will never hurt me, right? It gets quieter and quieter. The other thing we're going to look at today is figurative language. So really, the two kinds of figurative language that I would like for you guys to focus on are actually probably the ones that you're most familiar with right now: similes and metaphors. Similes are comparisons using the words like and as. So my 3-year-old can do this right now. We were just watching a movie where she saw a character kind of melt, and she looked at me and she said, "Mommy, he melted like ice cream," right? So she used a simile right there, using the word like. Metaphors are where you say one thing is something else. So let's look at our two examples here that we've got. So this one comes from The Other Side of the Sky. And it says, "How did I scale that mountain so easily? How did I climb down the other side? These days I find it hard to clamber up 2 or 3 flights of stairs even. I don't know what made me so supple and strong that day, but I felt no hardship, no anxiety or fear, just concentration and intensity. Whatever the reason, I scrambled up like a goat." So with that analogy, she's telling us that it was hardly a problem at all. Goats are really good mountain climbers, and she was able to move just like a goat that day. So it wasn't a problem for her. Here's another one from To This Day. "He is a stick of TNT lit from both ends." He's not saying that he is like one. He's saying he is one, that anything could set him off, right? All right, so now what are you going to do with these two concepts of sensory detail and figurative language? Well, you're going to go down to slide number 21, and you're going to start filling in this table. So I'll start filling in a couple from my story about being a teacher the first time. What sounds do you remember hearing? Kids coming into the building. What things do you remember seeing? An empty classroom suddenly fill up with 40 kids. What smells do you remember? Middle school students who hadn't learned to use deodorant yet. You're going to go through and you're going to fill up this chart. And the things that you're going to put in here should find their way into your story in some way. Okay?